Fellow travelers, spiritual seekers, my name is Shelly Riemer. I am a spiritual guide. I've been working professionally as a spiritual channel since 2007. I am doing a video today on channeling, and I already did a video on channeling, and I went back and I deleted it because a viewer who very kindly sent me I don't know if she meant it kindly, I think she was frustrated at me. I did a beginner video. Some of you might have seen it was beginner channeling, and I got 2 comments from the same person. The first one said, "Get to the point, please." And then like 4 minutes later, comment again, all capital letters, "Get to the point, please." And at first I was like, oh, my little heart, like, oh, I've upset somebody. But then, I sat back, I'm a good student, and I go, okay, everything is the divine, everything is God. God is basically telling me to get to the point. So I went back and I looked at the video, and I was like, this is really incomplete. Linda, thank you. She had a point. I was not getting to the point. I was kind of all over the place. So I deleted the video and I wanted to start again. And I've been really contemplating over the last couple days, what exactly is it that I want to say about channeling? I have been a professional channel, like I said, for 17 years now, almost 18 years. But I'm just now starting to teach it. So I'm having to really put into words what it is I want to say about it. And also, I have such a deep sense of integrity around what I do, and a deep sense of the pitfalls. And I do not want to be careless. I realize that I don't want to teach how to channel on YouTube, because while I cosmically love all of you, I don't know all of you, and I don't know where you are. And I don't want to take somebody who might actually be quite destabilized in their own system and maybe struggling with mental health and tell them to go sit down and go start talking with their spiritual guides. Because being a channel, whether you are channeling for yourself or you're channeling for other people, it takes a whole kind of lifestyle and beingness to be healthy in it. When we go to connect with the spiritual realm, we are dealing with forces and energies that we may not even fully understand. I've been doing this as a profession, like I said, for a long time now. I have done thousands and thousands of sessions for people. I have just scratched the surface of what this is. So I'm sure I've probably been at it lifetimes. So I deleted that video, and I appreciated that person's comment, because honestly, if I had gotten just a lot of positive feedback, I probably wouldn't have taken a second glance at it. But it made me like go, no, Shelly, you really have to consider what you're doing here. So this is the true beginner channeling class online. And I'm not going to teach you how to channel online, but I am. Here's what I'll say about if you want to learn to channel: take a class. I teach classes. Many people teach classes. Make sure it's with somebody that you trust. How do you know if you can trust them? Look in their eyes, look in their being. Are they living a balanced life? Use your intuition. A true spiritual teacher, an authentic spiritual teacher who has been, what's the word I'm looking for? Sanctioned? Not sanctioned. I don't know. Given the thumbs up by the spiritual guides, will be a student themselves. They will be always learning. They will be very invested in their own spiritual development. And part of their spiritual development will be the giving of this gift to others. But they need to be very centered. If you get a sense that you're dealing with a spiritual teacher that feels like their life is not in balance, and that doesn't mean to say that they don't have problems. I have problems. I've shared on here my experience with anxiety. What it means is that you're witnessing them taking those problems to the spiritual guides, to the feet of the divine, and very practically and logically working through things with their spiritual guides and the divine to find solutions for their lives. So you're not looking for somebody who's perfect, but you're looking for somebody who has a way and that they follow that way. Okay, so I am going to just talk about some things that I feel is very important before you start opening your channels. Or in conjunction with opening your channels. One thing, you all know I say it, anybody who's worked with me, you need to be meditating every day or some sort of connective practice, meditation, yoga. You need a centering practice. I don't know what else to say about that. If you all want me to do any kind of video on what a centering practice is, we can dive into it, but I'm not going to go too deep into each topic. But get yourself a centering practice daily, okay? You need to be living in correspondence to the best of your ability with the cosmic laws. There are 12 cosmic laws. I'm not going to get in the weeds and list all of them right here, but basically this universe, this earth has an order to it, okay? And if we are going to live our best lives, if we are going to be healthy, if we are going to be working our spiritual curriculum, if we are going to heal these old wounds, if we're going to improve our karma, if we are going to vibrate high and like have a positive effect in the world, we need to be living in conjunction with the cosmic laws. One of the most popular and well-known cosmic laws is the law of karma, which is basically like what we put out comes back to us. Now, some of us are living out, I would say like right now, we're living out our past actions and thoughts. Because what will happen is we will act, we will think, we will behave in some way, and that it's like a boomerang and it comes out and it comes back to us. So we need to be living in a karmic space, you know, where we are keeping ourselves in check, where we are offering kindness to the world, even when it's not being given to us, right? Being a channel is about growing up spiritually. And I can say that while I have I have a great deal growing up to do, I can see that trying my best to live this way since I started on this path in my late 20s when I became a practitioner has grown me up so much. And I had a long, long way to go, people. I would say, if I can do this, any of you all can do it. So living in accordance with the 12 spiritual laws. Again, I'm happy to do an in-depth video. I'm not going to get in the weeds about that right now, but you can Google it yourself. There are 12 of them. Some of them they just tell you like where we are. People have so many questions like, what is this? There is an essence and an intelligence to how we live here. And if we live at peace and harmony with the laws of the universe, we will do very well. And every religion has their kind of own form of listing those karmic laws, cosmic laws. Here's the other thing that I really encourage everyone to have to keep their ego out of channeling is humility. If we are leading with our ego when we go to say our prayers, when we go to channel, when we go to connect, we won't be able to hear very clearly. And we want to listen. The divine guidance will arrive. It just will arrive. And it arrives when we are calm. It arrives when we are at ease. The ego doesn't, you can feel the difference when you're connected spiritually or in the ego state. The ego state is not at rest. The ego state is vigilant. It is, it's surviving, right? And so surviving is not restful. And it also is like very mental. And the reason I bring humility into this is because that puts us in a state of receptivity. It puts us in a state of like, look, I'm living in a veiled existence. I'm living in a karmic state, and I am open to receiving. I'm open to hearing, and then we patiently wait for that to arrive. The other reason we need to have humility is because when we do, and you ultimately will start hearing from the spiritual guides and start having awakenings, we do not want to run around town forcing it on other people. We do not want to be giving out advice that's not being asked for. When we start seeing answers for other people, understand that they may not be ready for that. And if we are not humble, we can carry our awakening around like a badge and go, oh, she doesn't, she's living this way. She doesn't understand. Maybe I can go tell her. Or just even being in that state of judgment towards other people. And I will put my hand up to say that that is something I've had to work at. Being upset with people for not getting it. And watching them do destructive things to themselves and the people around them. And me being able, as a spiritual channel and guide, to kind of see like what the issue is. It is not my job, unless you're paying me, then it is technically my job to go around correcting people who are not asking for correction. That is what the law of karma is for. Nobody bestowed upon us, because we have sight, the right to go around policing our loved ones. And I'm kind of strict about that. I'm strict about it with myself because I've had some hard lessons about it. My rule of thumb is that I do my best to not give advice unless people are asking. Obviously, in my practice, people are asking. In my personal life, you know what? They usually are not asking, to be honest. And just because I can see answers for other people does not give me the right to go around saying that. I mean, you can do it, but I tell you, they don't like it. No more than you probably like it. Everybody's on their own path. Now, that being said, yes, obviously, if you've got people in your life who are behaving in ways that are harmful and to you and your well-being, use your intuitive abilities to put down your own boundaries, but not dictate how other people. It's like, look, I need to maintain my light. I need to put down a boundary. I need to take a step back. I need to say no, whatever. But that is you utilizing your spiritual channel and guidance for yourself, not trying to tell other people what to do. So very important to be humble and to also just recognize that we are all antennas. What you plug into, you will reflect in the world. So, and to me, that goes in with being humble, because I've done a video on here about my journey with anxiety. Last year, I got super tuned in with fear. I had this, a PTSD and traumatic flashbacks happening repeatedly. And I realized that when I was in that fear, I became kind of different. I became a different version of Shelly. It was very different than and what has saved me from that so very, very deeply is deepening of my spiritual practice, deepening of my meditation practice, deepening of my prayer life. And now my antenna has changed, right? And now I'm able to be more reflective of my divine qualities. But interestingly, it really was like when I'm plugged into fear, like not that great. Like I got to see Shelly, little Shelly, when she's plugged into fear, what she does, what she moves like in the world. It was very, very humbling. It made me realize that so much of any kind of greatness that might be within me is coming from that divine aspect. And if I tune my channel to something else, I will reflect something very different that is not as divine, not very pretty, struggling. Yeah. Okay. The key to being a good channel is to be focused on your own self-development and your own spiritual integrity and maturation. If you desire to become a channel, you want to ask yourself why and find out what the desires are. I don't know if I've repeated myself because I already did this video. I did a video before this and I ended up rambling, so I deleted it. So I'm sorry if I repeat myself, but it probably bears repeating. If you want to be a channel, you want to ask yourself why. It is important to keep that ego in check, because your boss is the spiritual guides and there is no manual. If you go into using your spiritual gifts to help others, whether in your personal life or professionally, and you are leading with an egoic desire, it will slap you in the face. I am sorry, it just will. Because we are not acting, this is a spiritual vocation. We don't get away with shit. I mean, nobody really gets away with shit, but it's a speedy reaction, right? So you want to ask yourself why. Now, I admit I am a teacher who is going to teach you with a great deal of caution, because I have taken this path with a great deal of caution. Some may say a little bit of perfectionism, but part of that caution, I think I would rather be cautious than moving too fast. The other thing that can happen if we plow ahead, I want to be a channel, I want to channel for myself, I want to channel for other people, and we're not kind of keeping the ego, keeping an eye on why and the wants and everything, is also because there are things that are going to, as you raise your vibration, that's what channels do, right? I have been in this slow process of raising my vibration, because if we're going to be talking with the spiritual guides, we get pulled up. We pull ourselves up. The vibration quickens. If we move too quickly or we get ahead of ourselves, we can become ungrounded, and there's all kinds of things. And again, I'm saying a lot of this just from my own experience. feeling like mentally fatigued, feeling out of our bodies, dizziness, headaches, feeling kind of wiry and on edge. These are all symptoms that we have not integrated the high vibration into our physical bodies. It's so important to be grounded through this process. And we will be grounded if we are humble, if we keep our egos in check and we understand our desire. There was a time, because I've been called to teach more and in a more expanded way for a long time now. And I think two things have made the process really slow. One is a built-in protection for me. Probably in my last life, I built in a lot of protection, so I'm going slow. Sometimes I'm like, I am the turtle, moving slow. And also an abundance of caution on my part. And the third thing is that the reason it would move slow is because I have had to understand where my ego would get tripped up into wanting more, right? So this is just an example of why we have to keep our desires in check when we are becoming a teacher or a guide or a giver for others. Is I had some old wounds around my worthiness. Not had, and they're done. No, I have. I'm in the cycle of healing them, but my worth was getting really wrapped up in the creation of this next step. And so like I had a TikTok account and it did very, very well. I've since shut that down and I've reopened a new one. If you want to go check me out, Skyward Healing Arts on TikTok. But anyway, and that one is going so slow. The other one went very fast. I got, 6,000 followers. I can't remember. It was a big number. It was impressive to me. And again, my worthiness issue in conjunction with it was very proud of herself and patting herself on the back when she did well. And very sad when she didn't do well. And so I became kind of like tethered to those kind of numbers. And I had to snap myself out of it and realize that my job is giving the gift. My job is doing exactly what I'm doing right now. I leave the fruit of it, the fruits of my labor in the hands of the divine, in the hands of the spiritual guides, your spiritual guides, my spiritual guides. That's how I live in balance. When my worthiness issue gets into it, I start looking. Am I doing well? Do they like me? Right? Now, it's very human, and I'm not saying that my ego is ever going to stop doing that. My ego is always checking in for me. Am I doing okay? Am I all right? Am I loved? Am I cared for? Blah, blah, blah. But I need to be aware of it. If I'm not aware of it, it will take me down. It will, and that's what happened. I got very drained, and I realized, I was like, oh, TikTok is draining me. But it really wasn't TikTok. It was my attitude about it. It was my attachment to it through my ego. So now I'm getting a second chance, and it's so funny how slow it's going, which is fine. Because again, I have learned my gift is giving the gift. And all the other stuff, I just try to keep my mind off of. So pay attention to why you want it and how your ego might be involved, right? I imagine if you guys feel called to channeling, you have a calling. I have a calling. I also have an ego trip. Those two things need to be watched and we need to be aware. Yes, I wrote here, proceed with groundedness and caution. Before I started doing this professionally, I just thought of this the other day in terms of anybody who might be wanting to utilize your gifts to get money. And again, turtle, right? I've been slow, but I had this very grounded, consistent meditation practice for 6 or 7 years before I started doing this. I didn't realize it until like even just recently. When I was considering what I would teach, and I'm like, I did a great deal of healing work on myself before I started working with others. So I'm not saying that's the case for everyone. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying though is that does have to come first. And it has to be I believe, your first priority is your own growth. And this secondarily, you can become a very authentic, giving, loving teacher. If telling and showing others is your top priority and you're not keeping an eye on this, it's a bad prescription, not only for you, but for the people that you're trying to help, right? One of the most egregious things that I have found that makes me so upset in the world is when people use spirituality to be abusive towards other people. When you mess with somebody's relationship with the divine, That I can't. I just, I'm about to get up. Okay. Let's see. So, yeah, the last thing I want to say, and Linda, if you're watching, I hope I've stayed more on point. Maybe some of you might be looking for particular instructions. Before I make my last point here, I just want to say, I do teach classes, so I'm happy to, reach out to me on, you can go to skywardhealingarts.com, which is my website. You can message me there. Find a trusted teacher. This information I've given you is a really good foundation, whether you want to try your hand at channeling and hearing from your spiritual guides, again, for your own personal use or as a profession. Really listen to what's been said here today. It's not sexy, it's not fast, but it is the most powerful foundation, and it will change your life. And it will assure that when your abilities and your gifts come online, whether that's new or old or it's getting stronger within you, that you will be able to stay stable, that you will be able to utilize that gift of hearing that call of God in a way that will just bring a lot of joy and not a lot of problems. So again, it's not really sexy or fast or, it's very practical. And yeah, okay, I'm not gonna. Last point. Your clarity is your protection. When you want to hear from the spiritual guides, you want to just live in as much clarity as possible. When you want to live in connection with the spiritual realm, you want to be clear, you want to be bright, you want to have your nose clean, so to speak. You want to be living in integrity. If there is anything hanging out in your life that is niggling at you in terms of your integrity, take care of it. I'll give you an example and then I'll close. A year and a half ago, my son is an artist, and he had a round of lessons with this young woman that he's been learning from for years. And for some reason at their little art studio, the drawing studio, I think they had a new accountant or something. Our lessons my invoice kept falling through the cracks, and I wasn't getting the invoice to pay. So a couple times I kind of chased them down. It's like, hey, I need to pay. Well, there came a time where my son, he stopped taking the lessons because now he's in the art program at school. And so I never got an invoice, and it was almost $300, and they just never charged me. And I, for a while, didn't do anything about that, but I couldn't let it go. I knew that I owed them that money, and I also knew that I could get away without paying them. My knowledge of the cosmic laws would just not let me get away with walking away from that $300. So I reached out to them, finally, got out of my mental habit of scarcity and said, hey, we owe you around for these lessons. And they were, of course, grateful and wow, that's like, a lot of people wouldn't do that. And I'm like, yeah, but those people don't understand the law of karma, because if they did, they would do what I'm doing. So I paid the invoice, and I have been experiencing so much abundance as I did that. As I took care of that little piece of business, I was living within the cosmic law. We don't get away with things. So that's just a little lesson. Again, showing, I'm not the perfect teacher. I'm just doing my best to live within the cosmic law. Sometimes I drag my feet. Sometimes I become afraid. We're all very, very human. I think what the guides simply ask of us is that we're making an effort and that we try in just some way all the time. So to wrap this up in a nice little package, if you are interested in channeling, number one, get yourself a trusted teacher. Don't learn off of a YouTube video, because you may be less stabilized in your energy than you think you are. You want to err on the side of caution when you start opening to divine forces, okay? Check out the cosmic laws. Are you living in them? Clean up your business. You will be a channel, a good channel, the more you reflect the divine qualities. Compassion, kindness, balance, order, all of these things. Being a channel, again, whether personally or professionally, will correct your path. It will correct your life. That's the offering, right? 1, 2, 3. Have integrity. All right. Thank you, Linda, for telling me to get to the point. I don't know if you're ever going to watch this, but I sure do appreciate you. I've got more videos to come. I hope that this was helpful. I'm going to title it, I don't know, tips and tricks or something. But anyway, I'm sending you all so much love and blessing, and I will see you next time. Take care.